Reserving the right to object, I would open with the observation that, well, let me start by saying that in one of the great plays in our language, the opening began with the observation that something is rotten in the state of Denmark. There is increasing evidence that something is rotten across that lawn and across First Street at the United States Supreme Court. What is the evidence of that? Well, the first thing I would suggest is the amount of anonymous dark money influencers swirling around the court. I have spent a good deal of my professional life around appellate courts. I have never seen, nor does the history of the Supreme Court evidence, anything like what is taking place right now with dark money influencers swirling like eels around that court. How do they do it? Well, they're involved in the selection process through a group called the Federalist Society, which takes large anonymous dark money contributions and controls the selection of judges. How do we know it controls the selection of judges? Donald Trump has said so. The Wall Street Journal has said this was a subcontracting operation. A subcontracting operation, and it worked. It is not a good thing when the selection of our Supreme Court is subcontracted out to a private group that then takes multi-million-dollar anonymous donations. It shouldn't be hard for members to understand that that is a dangerous set of facts. Then you go on to the campaigns for those selected nominees, and you see more anonymous donors writing checks for as much as $17 million. I can't write a check for $17 million. I don't know anybody here who can. The number of donors who can write a check for $17 million is very small. And the number who would want to is even smaller. That is another avenue of influence. Last, you have law groups appearing before the United States Supreme Court, also anonymously funded. Some have gone out to find a plaintiff of convenience to bring strategic litigation before the court. Some appear as what they call amici curiae, friends of the court. Some swap back and forth in the same series of cases. They exchange positions as the litigant group and a friend of the court. But what they share is that they're funded by the same groups, and they don't disclose that to the court in their filings. So it raises the proposition that this isn't just dark money eels swirling around the court, but that these are in fact tentacles of a common operation. And it's particularly surprising that the senator from Montana would not have concern about this, because the state of Montana has been so strongly concerned about dark money influence for so long. Indeed, it was a state of Montana case that went to the Supreme Court under, I guess, Attorney General Bullock at the time, where Senator McCain and I wrote a bipartisan brief warning of the dangers of all of this money. So that's the first thing. Dark money influencers swirling around a court in a way that is unprecedented, in my view, in judicial history. The second is a pattern of decisions that has emerged out of that court. Under Chief Justice Roberts, there have been 80 decisions that had these characteristics. One, they were decided 5-4, a bare majority. Courts usually strive to build stronger majorities because that strengthens the institution. 80 cases, bare 5-4 majorities. And by the way, bare partisan 5-4 majorities. And in every case, an identifiable Republican donor interest at stake that won, a pattern of 80-0. And last, you have the behavior taking place politically around these nominations and how peculiar that behavior is. Here is Senator Daines talking about the effort to appoint Judge Garland to the Supreme Court. He said, "I don't think it's right." The senator put it in terms of right and wrong. And he said, "I don't think it is right to bring a nominee forward in an election year." He said, "The American people have already begun voting, and their voice should be reflected in what we do going forward." The very next occasion, the very next election in which the same set of circumstances presented itself, he and virtually everyone on the Republican side completely reversed their position about what is right in this matter. When you see reversals of position like that, that is a signal to me that there is something more going on. So whether it's all the dark money, whether it's the peculiar pattern of decisions, or whether it's the unexplainable behavior of members, it sends a pretty strong signal that something is in fact rotten in and around that court. I believe that every one of us should agree that we are entitled as Americans to a court that is not a pantomime court that goes through the routine, the ritual of adjudication, while making sure that a small group of special interests actually wins the case at the end of the day. Nobody should be interested in a court that operates that way. We don't know how bad the situation is because it is dark money, because it's still hidden. And until we figured it out, under the rule that it is premature to rule out remedies until you have a complete diagnosis, I will object.